Willie D. Live.
When you're dealing with people who have the scars of being betrayed, you have got to make sure that you continue in cultural connection with them. You have got to make sure that they don't feel like in any way that their pain is being monetized. And the way other people might do it now, and whether this is ignorance, you just don't know how to deal with having a windfall of cash, or whether it's impropriety, it's on you to continue to be authentic and continue to be in lockstep with those people. And doing it the way certain members and certain people did it at that time is just not the way. Like, it's not going to be the way. The first thing you have to do is before you put black people first, you have to put black person first. So the individual black person is how every black person, to me, that I know, I can't speak for all black people, 40 million of us, that's how they see themselves. They see themselves in, hey, you know what? If I need to get something, if I need to have something, does this person care about me? Forget about whether or not they're going to change legislation and all of that stuff like that. If somebody in East St. Louis loses their job for discrimination, y'all going to come here, like, can we rely on you? Can we trust you? And I do think that the ball was dropped, at least in appearances, by the national structure of Black Lives Matter. That all of that stuff, when it came out, and obviously everybody knows I'm talking about the buying of the houses and the, putting your family in charge of all of that stuff. Do I think it was done necessarily to exploit people? No, I don't think it was. I don't think that it was a grift from the beginning. But you have got to make sure that people don't lose faith and hope in you. Because the minute that people think that the death of a black person by the police benefits you, that it's a way for you to come up or get a deal, or it's a way for you to fatten your pockets, you're going to go into a cultural pit that you're never going to come back from.
Well, does that hold true also for the attorneys that go out there and get the money in civil lawsuits? Because, there are people who I've had to argue down that, hey, man, Ben Crump is going to get financial compensation. He can't guarantee that a cop is punished, and has to do time. His job is to go get the money. His job is not to make sure that the cop is convicted, and all of that type of stuff, even though that would be nice if he had that type of power, but that's not his lane. I mean, what do you say to that?
Ben Crump has to exist. Like, the main fight on the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, right? Not the main fight, but one of the main fights is over qualified immunity, right? And qualified immunity would be the thing. It's the issue about whether or not you can individually sue a police officer for misconduct. Forget about suing the state, the station or the precinct or whatever, right? Whether or not Officer Daniels does something, and then you can sue Officer Daniels. They don't want that because they don't think that officers can do their job if they are threatened with lawsuits for malpractice, malfeasance, or whatever. That's how powerful money is. Money is it is the most important thing in America. It's what America was founded on, like capitalism and all of that stuff. That type of economic power funds your military. It undergirds every decision that's made. So when Ben Crump is going out there and getting money for victims, he's actually, in my opinion, punishing the system in the way that they care most about. Like, I think the thing that they care most about is how much money they have in their coffers. The whole defunding the police thing isn't about not having a safe public. It's about reimagining public safety where the police don't get $10 billion. Maybe they get $5 billion. I think in New York, the biggest police budget, I think it's like $6 or $7 billion. Maybe they don't need $7 billion. Maybe they need $4. And maybe with the extra $2, we reinvest it into the community We set up mental health facilities, and we set up all different types of things.
So we don't need them.
So we don't need them, right? What do they rail against? Having less money. Well, why do we get to have less money? We need tanks and fucking AR-15s, and we need the more police, and the police need to feel that investment. So to me, when Ben is doing what he's doing, he has to exist because making people pay, to me, is the thing that they care most about. Now, attorneys are never really going to have like a super sterling reputation with a lot of people because
they're attorneys.
They're attorneys. But to me, I choose to see the good in people, particularly black people. I think you have to have Ben. I think he's
necessary.
He's absolutely necessary. Not just Ben, but Lee Merritt, like all of these, they're absolutely necessary. You have to have them. Somebody got to pay.
Yeah. Do we have to have Kamala Harris as president over Donald Trump?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you like Kamala over Donald?
So for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm going to start on Kamala Harris because I think it would be typical if I started on why I don't like Donald Trump. I'll tell you why I like Kamala Harris. And I'm not saying that Kamala Harris is a perfect politician, but I'll tell you why I like her. To me, principle is what undergirds politics, if you're a real politician, right? So let's say, so people will talk about Kamala Harris and that the fact that she's different on some issues now than she used to be. What they never ask her, what never gets asked is, what did she learn, right? So when I'm 31, 32, 33 years old, I'm an advocate of single-payer health care. It's the only way to save American health care. And that is true. Single-payer health care in this country, to me, health care for all is one of the major issues of American society. Now, you feel that way when you're 31, 32, 33. If you're Kamala Harris, you felt that way back in the day. Or if you're any other person. You get inside of the political structure, and then you realize that single-payer health care might not happen for a generation. It might not happen for 2 generations. There's not the political will to make it happen, even on your side. And then at the same time, things are so intractable that might not be a feasible and a realistic solution to the healthcare problem in America right now. Then the question becomes, what can we do? Is the ACA good enough? Are other situations that are federally mandated well, federally mandated is the only word, are they good enough? So when I see the changes in Kamala Harris's political philosophy on a lot of things, I've seen a change being affected by her understanding certain political realities now that she didn't understand as a political neophyte before. As someone who jumped onto the national stage in the late 2010s, that was a lot more left, but probably a lot more idealistic. She's been there for 4 years, and she's seen, to me, what she can do and how she can affect and serve the most people. And despite the fact that there are some challenges in America right now, and those challenges are real, I think coming from what we came from, it is better to stay on the trajectory right now of someone who is looking to optimize the buying power of the middle class, optimize the rise and the stability of the middle class. By the way, I think that neither side talks about the lower class as much. We talk about the American middle class, but I think we need to have more conversations about the American lower class and how those lower class people get to middle class. But when I see her and what she's talking about, I see progress, and I see moving away from some of the corrosive and backwards political discussions that we've been having since the rise of Trumpism.
Is that just because she's trying to become president, she wants your vote, or do you think that that's really coming from an authentic place?
I think it's coming from an authentic place. I do think that we have to understand, at least I do. I'm not going to tell anybody else what to do. I understand what politics is, right? Politics, particularly a political campaign, is an extended first date, you know? Like, it's an extended first date. Like, at the beginning of the first date, you're on your best behavior. whatever, whatever. In the middle, you feel comfortable making a couple of jokes. Now you might make fun of where she went to school. You might play with her a little bit at the end. You know what I'm saying? And then towards the end of the day, you're not comfortable now.
Fuck everybody. I'm never doing it.
You're not comfortable now. So now you have a little bit of information to work with. What is she cool with? What is this person cool with? What are they into? What might she do? What might not she do? Now you know her a little bit. But at the beginning, you still are trying to show a version of yourself that's not necessarily inauthentic, but a version of yourself that you want people to see, that you want people to consume. I hate it. When I'm in front of anybody, I just like to have the conversation straight up. And I think that if there's one thing to be said about Donald Trump is that he's a ridiculous liar, but he means all of his lies. Like, he means them. He lies on purpose. He doesn't get caught in an accidental lie. He has a point of view, and he's too narcissistic to hide himself from people. He's that fucked up. And it always comes out. So, I do think there's a part of her that people that know her, and I don't know her, but when you talk to people that know her see that maybe hasn't quite been reflected on the campaign trail, but I think that's par for the course with most politicians.
You don't, when you look at Donald Trump, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
America.
Expound.
The first black president we ever had, Barack Obama, right? He was exceptional in every single way. He was a once-in-a-generation orator, once-in-a-generation style and swag. Editor of the Harvard Law Review. Fantastic student. Came from nothing, built himself into being the president that he was, right? Just went out and just nailed everything to have a chance at that. The guy before him was a C student that had never succeeded at anything. That didn't succeed in business. That didn't succeed as the owner of the Rangers to a degree. That had chance after chance after chance. But he's the president because his ancestors were on the Mayflower. His father was vice president, then president. His Prescott Bush, all of these people, his family goes back. They are minted in America. So then he gets a chance to be the president basically as a C student.
Because he was chosen.
He was chosen basically as a C student. Donald Trump is that but mutated because he is the version of this country. He is the actual truth of America, which is America is a country that because of money and dominance, nobody else can tell them no. No one can tell America no because the military is too strong, because the lies that the country has told, if they are threatened to be exposed as true, it threatens the world order too much. It's something that you just have to go along with and hold your nose. Donald Trump was born into money. He became a celebrity. All the while, we didn't really know who he was. And now that he has the perch that he has, he doesn't really stand for anything. He doesn't really believe in anything. The one thing he stands for and believes in more than anything is the idea of Donald Trump. The idea of who he is. And people, look, like Donald Trump will literally make a promise and then his campaign will walk it back. Donald Trump will say something, then people will be like, that's not what he really meant. People believe in Donald Trump so much that it doesn't matter what he actually does. It just matters what he says. So with America, people believe in America so much, it doesn't matter if black women have the highest rate of maternal mortality. It doesn't matter if you have all of these people that don't have access to health care, running water, clean water. It doesn't matter any of that. You believe in America so much that I could tell you, hey, right now things aren't equal. We're not all living in the same. We don't all have the same. Nah, it can't be true. You can't have that in this country.
If the schools are decaying.
If the schools are decaying, if everybody's getting shot up where you're from, if everybody has HIV where you're from, if everyone, I talked to a lady, and we were in North Carolina. I can't remember this lady's name, but she said something so crazy. She was like, if you walked by a lake and you saw one fish that was belly up in the lake, you walk by and you'd be like, what's wrong with that fish? Now, if you walk by that same lake and you saw 300 fish that were belly up, what would you say?
What's wrong with the lake?
You'd say, what's wrong with that lake?
Right.
Right?
Right.
But it doesn't matter how many fish go belly up in America. It's never the lake. And it doesn't matter how many times Donald Trump fucks up what he does, how he screws up, be it January 6th, be it the phone call where he's talking to Raffensperger, asking this man to find the votes, be it the big lie, whatever it is, it's never Donald Trump.
Be it the grab it by the...
It's never him.
Yeah.
It's always somebody that's out to get him. It's always somebody that has it in for him. It's never him. And the most American thing is never having to say you're sorry. We were slaves in this country for all of this time, built the wealth of this country. We have to drag an apology out of America, and they still won't really apologize, because if they really were going to apologize, they would reimburse us for all of the work that our ancestors did, right? But America's too big to say I'm sorry.
And
arrogant. And so to me, when I see him, people say we were eventually going to get here, where truth didn't matter, where decency didn't matter, where none of this stuff mattered. The only thing that mattered is whether or not you think this person will give you an advantage over the rest of the people in America that you think are lesser than. And so to me, when I see him, it's not grotesque or anything to me.
It is to me.
I mean, I get it, but what I see is the natural progression of having zero.
I think his skin stink. But good. It look like it stink. It look like his pulse is about to, I just look at him. I always look like pulse about to come out. But go ahead.
No, I just see the natural progression of never asking power in the country to be accountable.
Yeah. And it trickles down.
Of course.
That's why we have so many issues, like, on the ground with just regular people, man. It trickles down because we see the people up at the top doing all of this uncivilized stuff, and we go like, well, if it's good enough for them, got to be good enough for me.
Good enough for us.
If it's good enough for Trump to lie, steal, and cheat and talk about killing his adversaries, it's good enough for me.
Got to be.
Absolutely amazing. Do you believe the woman who said that she saw Trump at the freak-offs? Adria English. She said she saw Trump at one of Puff's freak-offs.
I don't know.
You don't believe Trump? I think Trump was there.
My thing is, as far as that's concerned, I wouldn't be surprised if anybody was at the freak-offs.
Yeah.
There's nobody you could tell me was at the freak-offs, and I'd be like, they went to a freak-off. Like, at this point, I personally think that case and the way that case is going to play out is going to be one of the most important cultural developments ever. It's going to change the landscape of entertainment forever.
It is.